Although my mind was ready to move on, my body wasn't. And there was no way I could force myself forward. Hello, my friends. Come on in. It is always such a gift for me to get to spend this time together with you. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if this is your first time joining me, I'm glad you found your way here. I'm Lucy Ann, and here in this space, we take a moment to step out of the noise of our busy lives and step into something quieter, something more grounded, something more real. This is a space where you don't have to perform, you don't have to have it all figured out. You can simply just be yourself. So if you can, grab your mug of coffee or tea and let's settle into today's conversation. I want to share something with you that I experienced recently as I was recovering from food poisoning. Yes, food poisoning. And if you have ever gone through something like that, you know how awful it is. And for anyone who hasn't, let me say this: you are extremely blessed. But I do want to explain that your body can be affected long after the sickness itself has passed. For me, it took about a full week for me to recover. Have you heard it being said that God doesn't waste anything? Well, I can certainly testify that He didn't waste that week of recovery. Even in something as unexpected as food poisoning, God used that moment to teach me something valuable. And I believe it will help all of us in our faith journey. There was a moment during that week where my mind was oh so ready to have my life return to normal. I didn't want to eat any more bland food. My mind, it was focused on real food. About this time, I thought I could handle something with a little flavor. I wanted to compensate for the cream of rice cereal and the plain rice that I had been sparingly eating up to this point. So I thought I'd get creative. I had a brilliant thought. I decided it would be a good idea to add a little beef bone broth to my rice. After all, something had to make that rice taste more flavorful. And the moment I smelt it cooking on the stovetop, I knew everything in my body said, no way, don't even think about it. Then there was another moment. My husband asked me, are we going to have dinner together tonight? I simply looked at him and very lovingly said this: not tonight. My body needs more time. Because I could tell my body still wasn't asking for food yet. And what I began to notice was this: although my mind was ready to move on, my body wasn't. And there was no way I could force myself forward. I had no choice. I had to listen and respect what my body was asking for. So what did I do? Instead of pushing through, I started paying close attention to the internal signals. I met myself where I was at. I didn't expect more than my body could handle. I listened to the signals it was giving me. There were times when it was a clear no to certain smells, and other times it was a soft yes to others. And it was in those small, seemingly insignificant steps that something deeper was revealed to me. I realized this, that after everything my body had been through, what was really happening was that my body didn't feel safe yet around food. It was still protecting me. And it was my responsibility to rebuild that trust slowly, not to force it, not to rush it, but rather to rebuild it. Trust was being built. And not just in my body, but between how I related to my body. Would I listen to what it was asking for, or would I override it? Because in my mind, I thought I was ready to move on. And this experience got me thinking, if this is true in our physical bodies, how often is this happening in our spiritual lives as well? How often do you and I override what we're sensing from the Holy Spirit because we're focused on a specific outcome? Think about it. This shows up in so many areas of our everyday lives. It shows up in our relationships, in our work, in our families, even in our walk with God. We push past what we sense. We ignore what feels off. And in doing so, we override the very signals that are trying to guide us because we think that we know what needs to happen. And I see this playing out all the time, not just in my own life, but in the conversations that I have constantly with the women I work with. This happened recently. I was talking with a client who came to me with what she believed was a relationship problem. But as we continued to talk, it became very clear that what she was actually experiencing was a lack of safety. Her reactions weren't really about the situation itself. They were coming from an internal alarm that she didn't yet recognize. She thought she was responding normally, just trying to solve the problem. But the real issue wasn't that problem. What was really happening was everything within her was screaming, I don't feel safe. And once we saw that, everything became clear. And this is something that I want us to understand. God actually designed us this way. Our bodies, our awareness, our ability to sense what feels safe and what doesn't, this isn't by accident. God always does things with intention. You and I were designed to be fully aligned with God. And our internal sense of safety, that was never meant to be something that we create on our own. It was always designed to be anchored to God. And this is why this matters in our everyday lives. Because when we are aligned with God, when we are walking with Him, there is a steadiness that begins to form within us. Now, this isn't because everything around us is perfect. It surely wasn't perfect that week I was sick. But rather, the steadiness develops because we are no longer forcing our way through what life brings across our path. And just like I had to listen to my body and rebuild trust, when we learn to listen to the promptings of the Holy Spirit, something bigger begins to build. We begin to build a relationship of trust with God. And trust with God always grounds us in safety. Trust is not built through understanding. Now, this is important. It's built through experience. And over time, we begin to recognize that what God is asking of us even when it doesn't make sense. It's always leading us towards something that is good. And while I was recovering, I saw this play out in a simple but very real way. My mind was focused on getting back to normal, but my body was saying, no way, not yet. My internal awareness knew a better way. It knew something that my mind hadn't yet caught up to. And I'm so thankful that I paid attention. Safety in our faith journey, it's something that grows. And that happens when we stop overriding and we start paying attention. We start listening. Now, I want to clarify something. When I talk about alignment with God, I'm not talking about getting everything right or having all the answers. I'm talking about being in a posture where there's a steadiness within you, where you're not forcing a solution or in a constant state of striving, where you're not trying to hold everything together, but rather you're living from a posture of peace, even when things around you aren't perfect. So let me ask you something. Where in your life right now might you be overriding what you're sensing within because you're focused on a result you think you need? And what might it look like if you slowed down and listened instead? Now, maybe today isn't about solving anything. Maybe it's simply about recognizing what your body and your spirit may have been trying to show you for a while now. Not through pressure, but through awareness. Because when you begin to listen and respond with trust, alignment starts to return. Now, not all at once, but in a way that is steady. And most importantly, it lasts. And that kind of alignment, my friend, is something that we continue to learn together right here in this space. If you desire to keep having conversations like this, slow, grounded, spacious, you'll find me here each week. And if you feel led to explore this work more deeply, there's a link in the show notes where you can schedule a discovery call with me. For now, take this with you as you go back into your day. Trust is built when we stop overriding and start listening. And I always want to remind you, you are chosen. You are loved. You are amazing by design.